Welcome to my channel, Rise Up with Steve. Please hit like, subscribe, and don't forget to share with your friends.
Let me tell you something. When people go quiet on you, that hurts. Because silence feels like rejection. Silence makes you question yourself. You start replaying conversations in your head, wondering, what did I say? What did I do? Why am I not enough anymore? But listen to me carefully. If they go quiet, let them. See, everybody is not meant to walk with you forever. Some people are seasonal. They come to teach you something, not to stay. And when the season ends, they don't always leave loud. Sometimes they leave silent. And that silence, that's not punishment, that's protection. You see, God has a way of removing people when they're no longer aligned with where He's taking you. And when somebody stops communicating, stops checking on you, stops valuing you the way they used to, that's your cue. Not to beg, not to chase, not to explain your worth. Because let me tell you this, anything you have to force was never meant for you. When people go quiet on you, it messes with your mind. Silence has a way of making noise in your head. You start asking questions you never asked before. You replay moments, conversations, laughs, arguments, promises. You wonder how someone who once spoke to you every day can suddenly act like you don't exist. And the truth is, silence hurts more than words ever could. Words at least give you something to respond to. Silence leaves you alone with your thoughts. And that's a dangerous place if you stay there too long. But listen to me closely. If they go quiet, let them. Don't fight silence by becoming desperate. Don't chase quiet people with loud explanations. Don't beg someone to explain why they stopped valuing you. Because the moment you start chasing clarity from someone who chose silence, you give away your power. And power is something you cannot afford to lose. See, everybody is not meant to go with you to the next level of your life. Some people are assigned to you for a season, not a lifetime. They come to teach you something, to prepare you, to shape you. And when their assignment is over, they leave. And most of the time, they don't announce their exit. They just fade. They get quiet. They pull back. They disconnect. That's not accidental. That's alignment changing. When someone truly cares about you, they don't leave you confused. They don't leave you guessing. They don't leave you wondering where you stand. Confusion is not love. Distance without explanation is not respect. Silence is a decision. And when someone decides to go quiet, they are telling you everything you need to know without saying a word. Stop trying to force conversations with people who have already decided you don't deserve one. Anything you have to force was never meant to flow. Real connections don't require chasing, begging, or proving your worth. If you have to remind someone of your value, they were never equipped to see it in the first place. And here's the part people don't like to hear. Sometimes God allows people to go quiet because if they stayed, they would distract you from who you're becoming. Sometimes the silence is protection. You think you're being rejected, but you're actually being redirected. You think you're losing something important, but you're being freed from something that would have limited you. You can't grow while holding onto people who are comfortable with the old version of you. Growth makes people uncomfortable. Elevation exposes intentions. And when you start changing, when your mindset shifts, when your standards rise, some people don't know how to adjust. Instead of communicating, they withdraw. Instead of supporting, they disappear. Let them. Because every time you chase someone who went quiet, you are telling yourself that your peace is less important than their attention. And that is a dangerous trade. You start shrinking yourself. You start overthinking. You start questioning your worth. And all of that comes from trying to keep someone who already decided not to stay. Silence reveals priorities. People make time for what matters to them. They show up for what they value. If someone wanted to be present in your life, they would be. No excuses, no confusion, no mystery. Stop knocking on doors that God already closed. Stop reopening chapters that were meant to end. Closure does not always come with an explanation. Sometimes closure comes when you accept that silence is the answer. And let me tell you something important. Letting someone go quiet without chasing them is not weakness. It's strength. It means you trust yourself enough to walk away from uncertainty. It means you respect yourself enough not to beg for attention. It means you understand that your worth is not determined by who stays and who leaves. When they go quiet, let them discover what life feels like without access to you. And you go discover what life feels like without carrying the weight of people who no longer choose you. What's meant for you will never require you to lose yourself to keep it. When someone goes quiet on you, the first thing it attacks is your peace. Silence has a way of creeping into your thoughts late at night when everything slows down and there's nothing left to distract you. You start checking your phone more than you should. You reread old messages, searching for clues, looking for the exact moment things changed. And the hardest part is not knowing why. Silence feels like being left without a reason, and that can shake even the strongest person. But here's the truth you need to hear. If they go quiet, let them, not because it doesn't hurt, not because you don't care, but because chasing someone who chose silence will cost you more than losing them ever could. The moment you start begging for attention, explanations, or reassurance, you step out of your self-respect. And self-respect is something you never get back the same once you give it away. People who value you don't make you feel invisible. They don't disappear and expect you to understand. They don't leave you in confusion while they enjoy your absence. Silence is not accidental. Silence is a choice. And when someone chooses silence, they are choosing distance. They are choosing not to show up. Believe people when they show you who they are, even when they show it quietly. Sometimes we hold on because we remember how they used to be. We remember the laughter, the support, the closeness. But you cannot build a future with someone based on who they used to be. You have to deal with who they are now. And if who they are now is distant, uninterested, or emotionally unavailable, then holding on only delays your healing. There are people who walk with you for a season, and when the season ends, they no longer recognize the version of you that's growing. Growth makes some people uncomfortable. Change exposes who was only comfortable with the old you. Instead of talking about it, instead of adjusting, they pull away. They go quiet. And that silence is your signal that the connection no longer fits where you're headed. You don't need to chase clarity from someone who is okay with leaving you in the dark. If they wanted to explain, they would. If they wanted to fix things, they would. If they wanted to stay, you wouldn't be questioning their silence. Love doesn't leave you guessing. Respect doesn't require reminders. Letting someone go quiet without chasing them is an act of self-trust. It's you saying, I know my worth even when you don't acknowledge it. It's choosing peace over chaos, dignity over desperation. It's understanding that being alone for a while is better than being connected to someone who makes you feel alone anyway. Silence also teaches you something important. It shows you who was feeding your growth and who was draining it. It shows you who was present because they wanted to be, and who was present because it was convenient. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. When you stop chasing people who go quiet, you make room for people who communicate, who show up, who don't disappear when things get uncomfortable. You make room for healthier connections. You make room for peace. And most importantly, you make room for yourself. You don't lose people by letting them go quiet. You lose yourself by chasing them when they already decided to step back. Let them have their silence. Protect your energy. What's meant to stay in your life will never require you to beg for a voice. When someone goes quiet on you, it doesn't just feel like distance. It feels like abandonment. It makes you question your place in their life, and if you're not careful, your place in your own. Silence can feel louder than arguments because at least arguments prove you still matter. Silence feels like being erased. And that kind of pain doesn't hit all at once. It settles in slowly, showing up in your thoughts, your confidence, and the way you start doubting yourself. But understand this clearly: when they go quiet, let them. Not because you don't care, but because caring about yourself has to come first. The worst mistake you can make in moments like this is chasing someone who has already decided to pull away. The more you chase, the more you shrink. The more you explain, the more you convince yourself that your worth needs to be justified. And it never does. People who value you don't leave you confused. They don't make you guess where you stand. They don't disappear and expect you to wait quietly for their return. Silence is a decision, and when someone decides not to communicate, they are showing you the level of effort they're willing to give. Pay attention to that. It tells you more than any apology ever could. Often, we hold on because we're afraid of losing the connection, even when the connection is already gone. We cling to memories, to potential, to who we hoped they would be. But hope can become a trap when it keeps you tied to someone who no longer shows up for you. You can't force someone to care. You can't force someone to stay. And you shouldn't have to. There are moments in life when silence is actually a blessing. It removes distractions. It reveals truths you were too busy or too emotionally invested to see before. When someone goes quiet, it exposes whether they were in your life out of love or out of convenience. And that clarity, as painful as it is necessary for your growth. Every time you choose not to chase someone who went quiet, you reclaim a piece of yourself. You protect your dignity. You protect your peace. You stop negotiating your value. You stop telling yourself that being ignored is something you have to accept in order to be loved. That kind of self-respect changes the way you move through life. Silence also creates space. Space for healing. Space for reflection. Space for people who communicate openly and consistently. When you stop filling the gap left by someone else's absence, you allow room for better connections to enter your life. You allow room for people who don't disappear when things get uncomfortable. Letting someone go quiet is not the same as giving up. It's choosing not to fight a battle you were never meant to fight. It's accepting that some people are not meant to grow with you. And that's okay. What's meant for you will meet you with clarity, effort, and presence, not silence. When someone you care about goes quiet, it can shake you in ways you didn't expect. It's not just the absence of their voice. It's the sudden gap they leave in your routine, in your thoughts, in your sense of connection. One day they're part of your daily life, and the next day you're wondering if you crossed a line you didn't even know existed. Silence creates 1,000 unanswered questions, and if you're not careful, you'll start answering them in ways that hurt you. That's why you have to remind yourself of this truth. If they go quiet, let them, not because it doesn't hurt, but because chasing someone who chose distance only deepens the wound. When you chase, you start abandoning your own needs. You begin prioritizing their comfort over your peace, their silence over your self-respect. People who truly value you don't leave you in confusion. They don't disappear without explanation and expect you to wait around hoping for clarity. Silence is not neutral. Silence is a response. And that response tells you exactly how much effort they are willing to give. Listen to it. Sometimes we keep reaching out because we're afraid of finality. We tell ourselves that if we just say the right thing, explain ourselves one more time, or show more patience, things will go back to how they were. But relationships are not held together by one person doing all the work. If communication only exists when you initiate it, then the connection is already unbalanced. When someone goes quiet, it often means the connection no longer fits the version of you that is growing. Growth makes people uncomfortable. Change exposes who was only comfortable with the old you. Instead of adjusting, instead of having honest conversations, some people choose distance. They step back quietly because it's easier than facing the truth. Letting them go quiet doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop chasing. It means you choose not to beg for what should be freely given. It means you trust that what's meant to stay in your life will not require you to lose your dignity to keep it. Silence can be painful, but it can also be revealing. It shows you who shows up when things aren't easy. It shows you who communicates when it matters most. And once you see that, you gain clarity. You realize that peace is not found in forcing connections, but in allowing them to either grow naturally or fall away. When you stop chasing silence, you create room for healthier relationships. You create room for people who speak honestly, who don't disappear when emotions get heavy, who value consistency. And in that space, you begin to feel lighter. You begin to trust yourself more. You begin to understand that being alone for a moment is better than feeling alone with someone. When someone goes quiet on you, it often feels like a rejection, like you're being erased from their world without warning. It hurts because humans are wired for connection. We want to matter, to be seen, to be heard. And when someone who once made you feel that way suddenly disappears into silence, it's natural to feel small, to question yourself, to wonder if you did something wrong. You replay conversations in your head, analyzing every word, every pause, every moment, searching for an answer that may never come. And that uncertainty is heavy. It weighs on your heart and clouds your mind. But here's the truth you have to hold on to. If they go quiet, let them. Not because it doesn't sting, not because you stop caring, but because chasing someone who chose silence steals your power. When you start reaching out, explaining yourself, or trying to force them to show up, you start giving away pieces of your peace, your dignity, and your self-worth. You begin placing their choices above your own well-being, and that's a dangerous path. People who truly value you don't leave you guessing. They don't disappear and expect you to fill the void with hope or anxiety. Silence is not neutral, it's a message. And sometimes the message is louder than any words could ever be. If someone wants to be in your life, they will make the effort. They will communicate. They will be present. And if they're not, chasing them only reinforces the wrong pattern, where your attention is earned through persistence rather than freely given through genuine care. Holding on to someone who goes quiet often happens because we're afraid of losing what we imagined them to be. We remember their kindness, their laughter, the connection we shared, and we try to convince ourselves that those moments mean they'll return. But reality is not shaped by what you hope for. It's shaped by what's happening now. And if now is silence, then the connection has already shifted. Chasing it back to life doesn't restore what once was. It only prolongs the pain. Sometimes silence is a mirror. It reflects the truth about who values you and who does not. It shows you who is willing to communicate, to invest, to walk beside you even when things are uncomfortable, and who isn't. And once you see that truth, you can't unsee it. You realize that your peace, your self-respect, and your dignity are worth more than the anxiety of wondering where you stand with someone who isn't willing to meet you halfway. Letting someone go quiet is not giving up. It's reclaiming yourself. It's choosing not to bend, beg, or chase someone who already decided to walk away in their own way. It's understanding that closure doesn't always come from a conversation or an apology. Sometimes closure comes from acceptance, from trusting that what is meant to be in your life will not require you to compromise your worth. When you stop chasing people who go quiet, you make space for those who communicate openly, show up consistently, and value your presence without hesitation. You make room for relationships where effort is mutual, respect is inherent, and silence doesn't create anxiety. And in that space, you begin to feel lighter, freer, and more aligned with the people and opportunities who truly belong in your life. Silence, as painful as it feels, can be a gift. It forces you to face your own strength, to rely on your own peace, and to honor your own worth. Let them go. Protect your energy. Stand firm in the understanding that what is meant for you will never require you to chase it. And when you do that, you open the door to a life where connection is mutual, where respect is constant, and where your heart is never left questioning its value.